One of the alleged victims of Jeffrey Epstein who came forward after he was arrested is Jennifer Araoz, who went public with her accusations against Jeffrey Epstein yesterday in an interview with Savannah Guthrie.
Did Jeffrey Epstein rape you?
Yeah, no, he raped me. Forcefully raped me, but knew exactly what he was doing. And I don't think cared. What hurts even more so is that if I wasn't afraid to come forward sooner, then maybe he wouldn't have done it to other girls. I feel really guilty. To this day, I feel really guilty.
Joining our discussion now is Kimberly Lerner. She's one of the attorneys representing Jennifer Araoz, who has accused Jeffrey Epstein of raping her when she was 15 years old. And Mimi Rocha is still with us. Kimberly, I want to get your reaction to Reed Weingarten and Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers today asking the judge to allow him to go home for house arrest.
Oh, well, that would be absolutely absurd. First of all, he is a flight risk. He has more means than anyone. Second of all, it's extremely intimidating to the victims and the witnesses. My client, Jennifer, who just came forward, she doesn't know who he could reach out to. She doesn't want to live in fear. I mean, she's given up her anonymity at this point, but she certainly doesn't need to live in fear of a predator who has every reason to keep her silent.
And Reed Weingarten, Epstein's lawyer, said today that really what he said to the judges, this is really just a routine Florida state possible prostitution charge. It is not sex trafficking. And then he misstated what the federal law on sex trafficking includes. And what the very first word that the law uses is recruits, anyone who recruits. And what we heard, we played virtually all of the interview with Savannah Guthrie last night, and the audience heard last night, Jennifer describing the recruitment process.
Yes, Jennifer had just transferred to a new school. She had lost her father. She
was 14 years old.
14 years old.
Father died when she was 12.
Her father died of AIDS, and this older woman, not older, but older than her, befriended her and found out her father died of AIDS, something she was very embarrassed of at the time, and started talking about this kind man, this man who was into philanthropy, this man who could help her. Nothing about massages was, nothing like that was ever mentioned. It was just a person who had a lot of money and wanted to help. And Jennifer was finally convinced to go meet him. And it was about a month that he just met her, talked to her, listened to her, and told her how beautiful she was. And then he would give her money to help her out. There was no mention of massage, no mention of anything. He really gained her trust. He preyed upon her.
And it was a slow process. And what strikes me about it is virtually everything we heard in that interview yesterday that we played in full, that Jennifer describes, everything she describes, Reed Weingarten says did not happen in his pleading to the judge today. He says there was no recruitment. He says that there's no accusation of Jeffrey Epstein ever using violence, ever using force. That's exactly what we heard Jennifer say yesterday, that she was forcibly raped.
Well, that's his job. His job is to deny all the allegations. If he went in there and admitted it, there'd be a problem, right? Jeffrey Epstein forcibly raped my client. There is no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It doesn't matter if she voluntarily massaged him. It doesn't matter if she was in her underwear. She was a 14-year-old child. You can't lose sight. You know, these 14-year-olds, they may look like they're 16, they may look like they're 18. I have a 14-year-old. They're children. And there's a reason why the law protects them. But regardless, he forced himself inside of her, and there is no excuse, and he needs to be brought down.
Mimi, in your experience, how do you expect the judge to rule on this on Monday? They're going to have a hearing on this on Monday.
I never want to make predictions, but again, I know Judge Berman. I've been in front of Judge Berman. He is going to weigh this very carefully. A defendant has a right for all of these things to be considered, but in this case, with these charges where there is a presumption of detention, and this man is such a flight risk, given his resources, given the incentive to flee because of the time that he is facing, and given the past behavior towards potential victim witnesses and the potential for them to be deterred now, I really do think he will be detained. I think he should be detained. And I think that the Southern District of New York is well prepared for these arguments. And like you said, Reed Weingarten is doing his job, but This isn't one victim. Even if it was, I'm not saying she shouldn't believe, but this isn't one person. This is many. They corroborate each other. There is a pattern here of coercion, fraud, and violence, manipulation of girls. This is a manipulative man. And I really do think that the judge will do the right thing and detain him.
Kimberly, how would Jennifer feel if the judge allows Jeffrey Epstein to go home under house arrest conditions?
I think she would be nervous. I mean, her face is out there. He knows what he did. And I think that she would feel like she has to look over her shoulder. He is a predator. It is a danger to have him out in society. He will continue to harm children. He's sick. And we need to be protected from somebody like this.
And actually, it's interesting. In his bail memo, I don't think he even addresses the photographs that were found in Epstein's home.
It's not a word.
Which is telling. I mean...
quickly, before we go, how is Jennifer doing? She's 48 hours into a new chapter of life that's unlike anything we can really imagine.
Jennifer is one of the strongest women I've ever met. She's doing great. She doesn't want to make the media circuit. You won't see her again. Jennifer told her story. She wants other victims to come forward. And she wants justice. And I think together we're going to get justice.
Attorneys Kimberly Lerner and Mimi Rocca, thank you both very much for
Thank
doing this
you.
discussion tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for checking out our